Dance Music Secrets with Kevin Mackay.
Hi, and welcome to Dance Music Secrets. Today's guest is Travis Emmons. Travis is a DJ, producer, and educator, originally from Las Vegas and now living in LA. As a DJ, he's held down residencies at some of the most sought-after spots in Vegas and LA, as well as DJing at the prestigious Burning Man Festival since 2015 or thereabouts. As a music producer, his deep house is featured on tastemaker imprints like Rob Soul, Mobley, and of course, Glasgow Underground. And lastly, as an educator, he has been working with Bassclef since around the same time, 2015, taking students from the very basics to signing to big labels. Welcome, Travis.
Thank you.
Today we're going to be talking about what it takes to have a long-lasting and fulfilling career as a DJ and a producer working in dance music. Before we get into that though, I think it's important that we all find out a little bit about Travis and about his background and his story and how he got here. So why don't we start at the very beginning and tell us a bit about how you got into music.
Sure. I think I was born kind of into it with my mom, and she was in a band before I was born, and I was in choirs and stuff, and she was actually in choir. Her choir was in the beginning of Lion King.
Okay.
So what's Elton John in the beginning, the intro, was my mom's choir in the beginning.
Wow.
And so I kind of grew up around classical music. And then, just having all the records around and music, it was definitely inside me since I could remember. Also remember, I learned piano about 8 or 9 years old.
Okay. That's always helpful.
Yeah. And then bass guitar, I think shortly after that.
Okay.
But yeah, I wasn't practicing all the time. I was kind of all over the place, racing and skateboarding and BMX and all that stuff too. And music wasn't really a solid thing until maybe I was about 15 when I had started a band with my friends.
And what kind of stuff was that?
It was kind of like punk rock. I was definitely a rocker growing up. I kind of liked R&B and rock, which is really random. But yeah, I liked Boys to Men and stuff like that in the 90s. And all the time. I mainly listened to alternative and rock radio.
Okay, so this is when you're 15. So can we put a time on that just so we can get a handle on where we're at in the kind of history of music?
Yeah. So Prodigy was really the big one that got me into electronic music.
Okay.
I was a huge Prodigy fan. Even their older stuff before Smack My Bitch Up and Firestarter. I liked their older albums that were a little more ravey and stuff. So yeah, that was a big inspiration, and of course Chemical Brothers, and that was all kind of crossover with rock and electronic music, and breaks too. I should definitely talk about breaks. Was a big influence to me. I grew up around a lot of breakdancers, and I was really into breakdancing.
So, and this is the mid to late 90s, just to get the time frame, right?
Yeah, so kind of late 90s into the early 2000s kind of thing.
Right, okay, so that post sort of Nirvana, but you're into Fatboy Slim.
Yep.
There's a bit of all that where dance music starting to become pop music, and certainly in America as well.
Exactly.
That break style was much more popular than, that was one of the first styles to really get hold of popular culture in America.
The crossover kind of thing. Yeah, exactly right. I would say that style, kind of almost hardcore grungy style of electronic music. I was really into that, and it's almost like breaks and even a little bit of drum and bass kind of influence.
Yeah.
But yeah, and because of the bass, I've always been intrigued with heavy bass line stuff, and that's kind of reflected in my early music, I guess.
Right. Okay.
But yeah.
So were you doing covers, or how did you learn how to sort of create? What were you doing?
So the early, I always was in the early 2000s, matchups was the big thing. And,
right, yeah.
And as soon as I started hearing, a Police song that had an electro drop on it, I was hooked. I was like, man, how do they do this? Like, and that was really what inspired me to start making music and figuring that out, was like the mashup remix and of like classic rock things or something.
So like Errol Alkan, that kind of style where he's taking, you know, Missy Elliott and George Michael was his famous one, but things like that. There was people doing it with Nirvana or doing it with like.
Yeah, I guess it's not really matchups as much as it is, or even though matchups was popular. But this is also in Las Vegas, where everything kind of had to be something that you knew.
Right. Okay.
Because it's a very commercial city with, you know, tourists, and that's just what worked on those big crowds, you know, and I would say that was definitely a big influence for me, and it was more bootlegs than it was a matchup.
Right. Okay. So, and is that what got you into DJing?
Yeah, I would say that was what inspired me to like go the route of I want to make music or start DJing, really, as I was downloading these. And it was like Crooklyn Clan was the website back in the day. And I would get those. And that's actually how I found Bass Clef, his Ice Cube remix.
Right, okay.
So that was around that same time. And it was like a hip hop song with a house drop kind of thing. And
yeah, of course.
Yeah, that was kind of the beginning.
But your intro to sort of DJing came via... It's slightly circuitous because you had like you started working in another part of the club first. You weren't in behind the booth first of all. So tell us a bit about your journey in nightclubs.
So really, my intro to DJing was in 1999. I started playing vinyl, and it was like breaks vinyl, like almost electronic music breaks, and it was really when we would throw parties or whatever, and in between, you know, I would kind of jump on. I didn't really have the tables, but my friends did. And that's what really sparked the initial of like, ooh, I like DJing. It's fun.
Yeah.
'Cause you can almost play every instrument at the same time.
Yeah.
Kind of feeling. But yeah, it wasn't until I was like 20, 21, going to clubs and seeing, because, you know, Vegas, they're really strict about being older.
Yeah.
You have to be 21. There's no.
Okay, so you were 21 for a few years.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so I got in there and started seeing, you know, that's really my introduction, like open format and like DJing. And that's when Serato had just first came out. I think we're talking like 2004, 2005.
So for any non-American viewers, open format's like essentially pop DJing.
Yeah,
you're not stuck to one genre.
No.
And you're playing more commercial.
You're playing to the crowd, really.
Yeah.
You're playing, you know, Can't Stop Believin' and Missy Elliott and, you know, like
the hits.
Ice Cube. Yeah, it's mainly all hits, but blending them together in such a way you're really controlling the crowd with the music. And that's really what the only gigs that you could really get in Vegas. But really my first residency is from Dre's After Hours, and that's like the more Ibiza style, like after hours.
Yeah.
And my mom used to party at Dre's.
Okay.
And that used to be, you know, she would come home from Dre's After Hours and drive me to high school and be playing, you know, trance and you know.
So it's Dre's?
Dre's.
And there was a club in
it was in a basement, yeah. And it went till 6 a.m. or something like that. So yeah, and
so what kind of, just to give people an idea of the sort of size of the dance scene. So this is like mid 2000s dance music in America. So like, what was the capacity of that club and how busy was that?
It was slammed, and I mean, it was before even my time, so I could get in. I didn't go until it was 21 for sure, and I would say maybe holds like 1,000 people.
Okay,
maybe somewhere around there.
And then the big spots in Vegas at the time playing dance music were like open format. So
yeah,
but you would have even bigger parties than that.
Yeah, there's a few. There was what was Utopia, which was ended up being Empire Ballroom by the time I was around in the scene, which that was a big club. That was a freestanding building. But that's pretty much it as far as I know. There's only a few places, SRO, standing room only. These are all things before my time. But those are the only places that I knew of. Oh, Studio 54 too. Those are like maybe the 4 places you could go to hear dance music.
In Vegas?
In Vegas in the early 2000s to late 90s.
Okay.
There wasn't that many. And then everywhere else was, open format, I'd say.
Okay. So yeah, very similar to like in terms of cities of the UK, most cities in the UK, like Nottingham, Glasgow, Leeds, they would all have their own kind of underground space of like 500 to 1,000 capacity where you were hearing proper underground dance music
Exactly.
week in, week out. So even a massive city in the States like Vegas was just that bit behind.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't till I'd say the big EDM boom and when the bigger DJs would start coming.
So when did that hit America and how did that sort of affect it?
I would say Flow Rida.
Right, okay. That 2012?
No, I'd say it's earlier than that. It's like
2008-9 was when that was happening.
Even earlier than that. I remember 2006 or so.
Okay.
Like that, where like almost hip hop or dance music, or it wasn't really even dance music, but it started to turn into it. And Lady Gaga,
Right. Okay.
That kind of
definitely
thing.
2008 then for her.
Yeah. So like I would say that was when, okay, now dance music's starting to become pop stars are starting to make like dance hits and stuff. But yeah, I would say that's right on the time of it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then but anyway, back to where you were. So you didn't like I said, we got sidetracked there, but you didn't start off behind the DJ booth. So what was your first job in nightclubs?
So in 2005, I got hired as a busboy to open Jet nightclub, and I was bussing tables for maybe like 2 months, and then
busboys in UK clubs are just collecting glasses and then dropping them off at the bar. So what's a busboy in the States?
So there's the cocktail waitresses, and I'm kind of like the ninja behind the cocktail waitress, where she is just taking orders and filling drinks and walking the bottles out. I'm like wearing all black and filling up the ice, the cups, the juices, the ashtray, all while having a rag under my foot and getting any spot that's on the floor. So the cleaner your section looks, the better busboy you are.
Right, okay. So this is the beginning of I remember you telling me before about this, like the European bottle service coming to America. So this idea that you would have VIP private tables.
Yeah.
And this took, because dance music in Europe took a very long time to get to that point, whereas that seemed to be a very quick journey in America, that idea of VIP tables was like a thing that Americans wanted.
As far as I know, Light Group, Light at the Bellagio was the first club to bring European bottle service to Vegas.
Okay.
And that was the company that I started with. And so after 2 months of being a busboy, I started promoting during the day too, like going out and passing out flyers and trying to find people to come to the club, and then working all night, sometimes till 6 a.m. as a busboy. I did that for a few months, and eventually they called me up one day and said, "Do you want to be the promotions director?" And I was like, what is that exactly? Like I kind of took me a second to be, and he's like, you have about 30 seconds to say yes or no. And I was like, yeah. And basically I had to come up with a structure of like, how am I going to get a line of girls there at 10 p.m. or, fill the club up.
So that was the strategy. Like if you and historically it's been a strategy for a lot of clubs, fill it with women and
looking people,
and the rest of it takes care of itself. So that was still, I'm not sure I don't think that's a strategy now, but some places it may be still. It was a very popular strategy back then.
Yes, because other people's focus was selling tables,
right?
And my job was just to fill the dance floor and fill it with the filler crowd as far as the promotions director role. But then during the club while it's open, I'd walk the tables in and make sure that they had, everything they needed. And I just kind of walk around and be taking care of everybody and making sure that anytime a table got up, I could sell it again. So
you had people outside waiting to get in, and then you see someone leave, and that you're just managing all of that, and you're doing that 7 nights a week, or is it just like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
We were Friday, Saturday, and Monday.
Okay.
So yeah, because Monday was our industry night, and then Friday, Saturdays are like a given that those are going to be the busy nights. But yeah, on those days, you're almost working all day and all night because you're just out there. I created 2 teams, one for getting girls to come in, and the other was just like flyer teams, like people in the hotel or, handing out flyers. And then, we'd walk them, the good groups, we'd walk them straight in kind of thing. I honestly, kind of soul sucking a little while.
Yeah. I mean, you told me about an epiphany you had after doing that job for a certain amount of time, but I think it's just remarkable, certainly for me coming from the UK scene, that if I think about 2005 and festivals starting to take off, but pretty much most big cities had a strong underground club sort of scene, and maybe dance music had kind of peaked, and there was rock and roll coming back in and taking over Lad Rock, the Kaiser Chiefs, that kind of thing, and then you sort of flip it over and how dance music's taken hold of America. It's a very different, the two continents are in very different spaces. I just think it's interesting to kind of set the scene a little bit for where you're at.
Yeah.
But then you told me before we got together today about a moment you had where that changed the trajectory of your career. So tell us about that.
Okay. Yeah, so my first residency in Vegas, I guess at a major club, was the Opium Group. They had a place called Privé, and I was managing the promoters, and I was a VIP host. And then before we opened, I was working in the office, obviously, and I happened to put a demo CD in the player in the office, and they're like kind of auditioning DJs for the club. They didn't really know that I was a DJ.
Right, okay.
I put it in there, and one person knew that I was playing my music, and he went and told them, "This is Travis." And we were about to have a big meeting, and it was all the VIP hosts and all the management of the club. And I remember this. He basically said, "Travis, get in here." And I was in the room full of everybody, and the whole room applauded. And I went and talked to him. He goes, "You made this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, you're going to be a resident DJ." I was like, whoa.
It's amazing, isn't it? That right place, right time. You got to be there. And if you weren't doing all those other jobs that you said described as soul sucking, you're not going to get that opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that definitely gave me a good, foundation to build on, because it made me be extrovert and have to go out and meet people, and you're only as good as the last day kind of thing. And
the tickets you sell.
Yeah, you kind of have to really grind and go out there, and it'll show that night what you did that day, pretty much, because Vegas is a very transient, like everyone's visiting. So if you can
no one knows this, there's I guess like Ibiza, you got to hustle, sell tickets, get people in the club, understand what nights are busy, when it's not busy, when you need to do more work, when you've got something that's like, okay, I maybe don't need to do as much, I need to manage it a bit more. It's a struggle. But then you're now off on a journey as a sort of proper resident DJ. So tell us about your journey as a DJ from there.
It wasn't like I'm like proper resident, because I still had to do my other jobs first.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the night, like 4 a.m., after I'd been open the office at noon, at 4 a.m. I could DJ till the end. So I would play like 4 to 5:30, 6 in the morning.
Okay.
And then the next day open up the office again at noon. Yeah. And then, I did that all the way until the summer. And at the end of the summer, I got a gig in Miami. And I was like, I think I'd only been to Miami one time, but I never DJ'd there. And my friend got me a gig, and we were going to go there for the swimwear convention, I think it was. And I ended up playing at Nikki Beach.
Okay.
Like without a gig, he got me on, and I'm
Amazing.
Playing a gig at Nikki Beach. And that's when I started realizing, man, this is really what I should be doing. And I guess I kind of skipped ahead. But when I was opening the club and I had all those jobs, I went to pick up this spiritual healer to come bless our club.
This is the epiphany I was talking about.
Yeah, this is kind of a crazy thing that I don't often tell people.
Okay.
It's kind of weird, but I picked up this spiritual healer from the airport, and we have a limo. I'm in the front seat, he's in the very back, and he's like, "So Travis, tell me a little bit about yourself." And I just said, I'm a resident DJ. I'm also promotions manager and a VIP host. He's like, whoa, 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 that's way too much for one person. He's like, if it's okay with you, I'd like to work with you when we get there. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I didn't think anything of it. And yeah, we get there and he meets all the owners and stuff. And I'm super nervous. He goes, if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to work with Travis first. And he went on to say that I had way too much going on for one person. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get fired, But yeah, he did acupuncture on my arm, starts putting needles in my arm. He's like burning sage, I think. And I remember my arm was up, and then he told me to flip my arm like this and lift my two fingers in the middle. And I started feeling this emotion like I'm going to cry.
Wow.
And like, I don't obviously want to cry in this moment. And I was trying to fight it. And all of a sudden I fainted and I kind of went into convulsions and I just like woke up and I just remember feeling all this like stress was gone. All the weight that was on my shoulders was gone.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah. And I kind of feel like from that moment on, the next 6 months or 7 months or so, things kind of that weren't serving me kind of fell off, like almost like my life in a way. I thought it was like kind of crumbling, but in a way it was kind of setting me on the different path of where I was supposed to be, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it like crumbling, or you can look at it about like shedding all the stuff you didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's an incredible transformation. And also you told me after that yeah, so tell us what happened next.
Yeah, and then eventually I quit my job and I moved to LA and struggled going from, having a high-paying job.
Realizing that, like you said before, the music in Vegas was never going to satisfy you. So you had to go to LA because musically it's a more like varied and open city. Yeah,
I wanted to be my own person. I wanted to be an artist. And in Vegas, at the time, you could really only be an open format DJ to be successful. You could do other things, but it was pretty limited, And I was actually under contract too, and that's the only place I could really go. And logically, it was where I wanted to be, always in my head, anyways.
Cool. Well, that's lucky. But yeah, but you had to go through. Yeah. So tell us about your struggles moving to LA.
Of course, I couch surfed for a little while at first. I had residencies that maybe paid me like $150 or something like that, like super small. Couldn't survive off of that. Lived in my car a little bit,
right,
like
okay.
Really, because I didn't want to, wear out the welcome at my friends' houses. I'll say this is struggle makes pain, struggle and pain that makes good art. I think that's really where things come from. And I'm not saying that I'm like, had this horrible struggle or whatever. It was definitely hard, but there's people that have it worse, and I didn't think that, I thought it was character building, I guess.
If you get to, and you did, we'll come on to that, but you did get places. So tell us about, how long, when could you first afford rent, and how did your gigs come? Like,
yeah, I just started with one residency and turned into two, and then playing house parties and private parties and making friends with the locals and having them introduce me to their friends, and really taking what I learned in Vegas of networking and not necessarily building a database, but maybe this is a little more authentic because it's for me, and it was just me being social, try to be a social light and meet as many people as I could and make as many friends as I can and be able to play. And that's the thing is I was playing like electro and like remixes. I kind of had a Vegas thing about me, and I think
a populist attitude to the dance floor, right?
Yeah, like definitely bringing the energy and things that but not quite like this. How
still cool, like a twist.
Yeah, with a twist. And I've always been into deep house too, and I think that kind of turned into eventually I would get these opening sets where I got to open for the bigger DJs, and that kind of became my thing of setting them up perfectly and like kind of really knowing who I'm opening for and knowing what how I would, if I were them, how would I like them, the music to be handed off to me, kind of.
Because you opened for a wide range of people. You mentioned like was it Tiesto, Cascade? Who like give us an idea?
I would say I mean, I have a list. I can't remember all of them, but pretty much all the big DJs that were coming through.
Right. Okay. And so this is still this is the mid 2000s we're talking.
Yeah, this is like 2008.
Right. Okay.
2008. And then to 2010. And then by that point, I'm starting to get gigs in Hollywood, and I moved to Hollywood eventually, and then had at one point, I think 4 or 5 residencies, Dre's Rooftop, Playhouse Fridays, Voyeur Wednesdays, Agency Tuesdays.
Fantastic.
And I definitely shout out to my friend Nick James, who was my kind of manager and roommate. Like, he really was the first person to believe in me. He's really one of the ones that got me the first gig in Miami from when I was in Vegas, and then was my, helped me with a lot of that stuff. And it was nice to have somebody, trying to get you to the gigs and, being your
sounding board, someone who's backing you.
Yeah. And like kind of vouching for me is the word I was looking for.
Right.
And that's really what got me those gigs. And I want to say now 2014, at one point.
Before we go there, I just wanted to... So one of the things that I thought was really interesting about your journey was that you did a lot of private parties.
Oh, yeah.
And I think in the UK, that's probably not a route that most DJs think about. They'd maybe think about hosting their own club night. But I guess it being LA, there's a lot more private parties, but maybe not in London. So maybe London's slightly different. I don't know. I came to London as a sort of established DJ. So tell us a bit about the private party scene and what kind of gigs you were getting.
Okay. So that's another major difference between Vegas and LA, is that in Vegas, clubs can stay open as long as they want, I think, maybe at least till 4. And then the after hours would start, and there's pretty much, you could go.
You can party 24 hours.
All the time, yeah. But in LA, you get off at 2 a.m.
That's it for the clubs.
2 a.m. Yeah, it's like a hard cut at 2 a.m. You can't buy alcohol. So what that does is it creates, now everyone goes to the hills, to mansion parties, to after parties.
Right, okay.
So then it's like, as you work in the industry, it's kind of nice because you get the option to say, oh, I'm going to call it a night. Or you can go on to, go on later, but you're going to somebody's house kind of thing, or somebody's club in a house or something.
Yeah.
So I guess that's definitely an LA thing. And there's definitely that in Vegas too, but it would be in a casino or a hotel room.
So I guess part of your networking is networking with those people. And so when mansions, we're talking like 15, 20, 30 million pound houses where people are having like the kind of parties you see in movies.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly that. And I kind of got a name because I was resident at all these clubs that, if I was doing the after party, I don't know.
People would want to go to that party.
Hopefully, I would hope.
So, if, for example, if you were somebody that had lots of money, but maybe not a lot of cool friends, then you're playing their party. Yeah,
definitely. Or you're new in town, you get promoters to throw you a party after, things like that. And that's the other thing too. The difference is in Vegas, everything's very corporate. In LA, the promoters are actually like an owner of the night. They get a percentage of the night. It's a very different structure.
Yeah, that's much more like in the UK, the promoter would be the person it would be their night. They would bring it to a club and, they're similar to here.
So in Vegas, it's all corporate. So it's like the owner.
The venue controls everything.
Yeah.
From top to bottom, including you, like the job you had is like going out flyering and stuff.
I was under the corporate side of it, so that's why I was under contract. But they did hire, independent promoters and stuff for certain things, or they'd have some guys that would be LA promoters would come in and buy bottles. All that stuff though was not handled by me. It would be handled by the owner.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. And also doing the private parties led to something which loads of DJs would have on their bucket list, which is playing Burning Man. So tell us a bit about that.
So actually, kind of from that private party thing is one of my good friends. He's the one that introduced me to Burning Man, and he had been going for quite a while, maybe 10 years before that, and had just made a documentary called Spark. And the year that he made the documentary and it came out, I went to go see the screening with him and a bunch of my friends at Soho House, and super inspiring to watch it like that and to learn about it in that way. And then after the documentary, kind of turned around and said, "So, are you ready?" And I was like, "Yeah," and that's kind of my introduction to Burning Man. But
so that was him inviting you to.
Mm-hmm. And I was, I guess, the resident DJ for the camp.
He had a camp there.
Yeah.
So what camp was that?
Well, at first he was part of Playa School, and then we created our own. It was called Dragonfly Den, and yeah, we had like a function one and a private chef, and yeah.
So very different from the dusty life that you see. Some people see on Burning Man. This is the kind of higher end of the.
Very much so.
Okay. So to describe the camp then and describe what it's like, because I guess the ones with money are maybe not the ones showing themselves so much on people's social media.
Yeah, there's a wide range of people that go, and some of them cater more to, their friends are from all around the world, and it's not exactly easy to get all your things there when you're flying here. You need, electric bike, maybe an art car if you can afford it, or, an RV full of supplies. And then obviously food and water and going to the bathroom and taking a shower, all these things you need to bring there with you. And one of the main rules of Burning Man is leave no trace. So when you leave, you're not supposed to leave even a speck of glitter. And the more specks of glitter that you leave behind, the worse rating that your camp will get. You might not be invited back next year.
Okay.
So there's camps that everyone contributes and they bring what they bring to the table, and it's barter system. There's no money involved. So everyone kind of tries to prepare gifts for people, and it's very a beautiful community. Honestly, I think it's like an experiment.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a experiment.
Like a sociological experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
With art being the main thread in there.
Okay.
And it's this city that exists only 1 week out of the year. And they take 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after. And then the 1 week is everyone goes there just for that 1 week leading up to the man burning down on Saturday.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I was the first 4 or 5 years I went, my job was just to DJ.
Right. Okay.
And I had some of my best sets there. Really long sets, 12, 14, 16 hours.
Yeah. Incredible.
I don't have any desire to do that long of set again. I don't think my back can handle it anymore. But yeah, it's definitely.
Did you have like Junior Vasquez with the bed in the DJ booth, or like
no?
You were standing.
It's way worse than that. It's like sometimes nothing works on the decks because you're going to a white sandstorm. You can't even see anything. You're like one thing, and you're just trying to grab a knob, and it's not doing anything. Like, well, that's not the right knob. Like, yeah, it's pretty extreme. And but also beautiful.
I did. One of the things I thought was really interesting was just musically having that amount of time allowed you to be much more free with genres, what music you're playing, and tempo wise as well. You talked about
especially I would say that during the day or the morning you're not going to play the same set you would at night. You're kind of more chill and very eclectic. I would say is the mix, but. Yeah, it feels almost like worldly music.
Yeah.
More, and definitely playing to the soundtrack of the moment thing. That's
what in terms of the weather, the ambient, like whether it's clear or whether it's
or the crowd.
Crowd, right? Okay.
Yeah, because I definitely want to play to who's around and stuff, and I would say that definitely helped me become more versatile in. The beginning of that, because before that I was only ever really a house guy.
So you're just reading the type of people that are there and thinking, oh, they might want something that's just, I need to keep it like strictly instrumental, chuggy, loopy, or okay, we need to introduce some lyrics that people might know, that kind of.
Sometimes, or just knowing what song to play and the crowd, because. Yeah, there's like disco things there. There's more like Ibiza crowds. There's like, other stuff too that I'm not really into. But yeah, I would say I have a wide range and I would try to experiment different things there. And I think people are more susceptible to it because everyone there's kind of a cool artsy person that's like, and the setting is like so cool.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I think that takes us up to a point in your life where you started to get into education, dance music, like education in terms of production, music production, education.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey there?
Sure. I would say I went to SAE in LA, in Hollywood, for electronic music, and I think it was 2010. And that's when I had all those residencies, and I kind of started feeling like I wasn't ever going to be the headliner unless I had songs that everyone played.
Yeah.
And I needed to figure out how to do that. And I learned, I went to school for electronic music, and then, just kind of piecing it together. And then shortly after that, I met Bass Clef, actually. I met him at WMC. I was DJing on a boat. I don't know if you'd call it a yacht, with like 100 other DJs.
Right. Okay.
And I was actually sober at the time. I was sober for a whole year. I had to kind of prove to myself that I could still enjoy this without alcohol. And so I was completely sober. Everyone was wasted. And I remember meeting Bass Clef. I met, I think, Tommy Trash there too. It was LA Riots. John Pegnato was there. Okay. He's one of the other teachers at Bass Clef now too. I already knew John before that. And it was a lot of people, I think, from my Playhouse residency. Because I used to do Monday Night Social, and which was the Monday party at Playhouse. And Fridays was like the European house night. Yeah. I was a resident for that. I met Stu there, and then it wasn't until later when we had a mutual friend that said Bass Clef wants to come hang out with you, or he's new in town. Can he come on stage and hang out with you guys tonight at Playhouse? I was opening for Sonnery James and Ryan Marciano with one of my best friends, Seth Esco, or Cece, he goes by now. And then Stu and I kind of hit it off day. But I thought that was just kind of funny, and we ended up going on snowboarding trips and introduced him to a ton of my friends in LA, and kind of became my best friend pretty quickly because he's such a nice guy, and I've always inspired by him. And we wrote our first track in 2012. It was called Electrical Funk, and that started on Machine. At the time, he was doing finger drumming a lot.
Yeah, so it's another thing to talk about, right time, right place, you told me about. So tell us about because he had a viral YouTube moment back then. So
yeah,
what happened?
So he was doing finger drumming, like EDM songs, and I don't think anyone was really doing that at the time. And I happened to film him. I think it was playing someplace in OC, where I made a video of him playing Finger Drumming Epic by Quintino. And that now has 10 million views on YouTube.
So if anyone hasn't seen this, it's using a controller called Machine, and to have all the synth patches up and playing it very much like James Hype does now. So this was the kind of beginning of that whole thing of taking DJ performance to another level, which James Hype is probably the most famous
it's like live electronic music, and Stu's still really into that now. He has a new moniker, Analog Soul, and it's 100% live electronic music. It's really cool.
But interesting that he, having the idea and being the sort of originator of it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get to be the most famous person that does that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's tough to keep up with that. I don't know if James Hype does live only that. I think he's DJing and plays on top of it.
Yeah, so he's mixing the two, definitely, where it's like a kind of intro. He'll do like an intro thing with...
where he's using pads and stuff. Yeah. That was really kind of during the EDM boom, I would say, when all that happened. But anyway, Stu and I became best friends, and I remember the next thing I did was Mike Monday. He got me for my birthday, I think, and I thought that was really cool. It was more of the mindset of making music, and a lot of psychological things, getting out of your head, getting out of your own way kind of thing.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Mike Monday was like he still is an online dance music educator.
Yeah. And then I also did, what was another one? I can't remember. Ill Gates.
Right. Okay.
So that was another one. And he's a big sampler guy. I definitely got a lot of good tips off of that one. And then eventually I went with Stu to our friend Andy Caldwell and Adam Johan. They started a school called IO Academy. And I went with Stu because he was a guest speaker, and it was happened to be next to my place in Hollywood. So we were walking there, and he was a guest speaker in full of a classroom or whatever. And on the way home from there, I started kind of having the thing is, man, maybe I want to start teaching too. I wasn't necessarily getting all the gigs I wanted anymore, and I just kind of wanted to have another way where I could be working on music, but also another income source. And yeah, I feel like I know I could probably do this, you know?
Yeah, I think it's a great way of, it is, you know, you're going to have, things are going to change in your career. You might have 5, you know, I've held down 4 residencies, 4 nights, a residency 4 nights a week rather. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't last forever. And then things have to, so you have to be versatile if you want a long lasting career in dance music, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's also too good it's way more rewarding than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have ever thought that I was going to be a teacher, and that was really a part of the plan, but I'm glad I am, because it's made me stronger. And it's one thing to be able to do it for yourself. It's another thing to be able to articulate it to help somebody and where they're at, and actually be able to get your point across where it makes sense to them.
Yeah.
And if you're able to do that, I think that's when you become a master, you know?
Yeah, I think I've heard that you can never really truly master a subject until you can teach it. Mm-hmm. And so I think certainly I've done a little bit of that, but it must be, like you say, incredibly rewarding. So talking about the education brilliantly takes us on to the next thing I wanted to ask you, which is a lot of DJs, producers starting out in this industry, and it's a daunting prospect for someone who's done it all and also teaching it all. How would you, if you were starting again from scratch right now, how would you approach it?
Probably a similar way that I would help somebody asking me this question as a mentor student. I think it's a good idea to figure out exactly your unique sound and what your formula is, and like what are you trying to do with it? Like, what does that sound like? And then from there, going and really preparing all the things that you need to do that. Like, what exactly does that going to entail? Is it like, what kind of synths do you need to have? What kind of drums do you want to have? Is it vocals?
From a music production point of view, first of all, so as an artist, okay, so carry on. Sorry, I'm just clarifying that before. I didn't want to interrupt you, but
is that what you mean, right?
Yeah, I mean, either way. So I think you could, I mean, both as a DJ. So, well, here's another question.
More as a DJ.
So, here's another question. Do you think you need to be both a DJ and a producer? Can you be one or the other? Do you think?
I think they definitely complement each other. I think it gives you an edge, especially with arrangement, to be a DJ. But not necessarily. You could be one or the other. I think they do complement each other, though. Just because you're good at one doesn't mean you're good at the other.
Yeah,
especially.
Very true.
They're very different. DJing's more timing and live, almost like you have milliseconds to miss your mark, then you might have to wait another measure, 8 bars or 16 bars or whatever. With music production, you have all the time in the world if you want. If you allow yourself all the time in the world, though, you're probably going to take it.
Yeah.
I think that you should really set time limits for yourself and try to say, this is what I want to do, and this is how long I'm going to give myself to do it.
I think that's a great thing to do, because people often start with, like you said, if it's open-ended, you will just fill up your time with stuff.
Yeah.
So pick stages.
Yeah.
Pick achievable goals.
Yeah, and make sure that you are well prepared before you go to start actually creating and writing music, because if you don't, then you're just going to end up throwing stuff at the wall until it sticks, kind of thing.
Okay, so here's a question. You're starting again with all the knowledge you have. Do you learn to DJ first? Do you learn the music first? Or do you do them both at the same time?
I would probably start with vinyls. I love vinyl music, and I think it's the essence of DJing, and I think that there's a lot of history there and a lot of things that you can learn and a lot of inspiration in any genre. And I don't know, billions of probably songs out there now that you could pull from. And I think that I love being a crate digger. I think that that's the start for me.
Right, okay. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to find stuff that other people aren't going to find if they're just on Spotify looking or another streaming platform, just looking at what they're being fed, right? You're off picking up things because it's a cool cover or because you recognize the producer's name, all those classic things that people did.
Yeah, if I didn't know anything, I think the idea of making music without knowing any kind of what it's going to sound like, it's probably sounds a lot harder to me. I think with digging through music and learning, the art of crate digging, I think that's where you get a sense of your style.
Cool. And then from learning, you've obviously done courses like university courses, SE or like college courses, and then you've been involved in online teaching. So what would you, if you were starting again, what would you choose? How would you get your knowledge?
Well, on the site for Bassclef, we have great courses, and Road to Main Stage is Stu's main one. I think that's a really good place to start because it can kind of give you all the tools that you could use to start. Great. I think that's a good one. But yeah, obviously school and a mentor is the number one thing you could find.
Right. Okay.
Because it's immeasurable how much you could get from somebody. The right mentor, obviously.
Yeah.
Finding someone that you vibe with and that you like what they do. And then, getting all the experience from them as much as you can from a conversation or from a lesson. And then what we do one-on-one teaching, it's all specific to where you are.
Yeah.
So it's like, what better way to learn than to see like exactly where you're getting stuck and then knocking down through those barriers. And then where do you get stuck again? Knocking down through those barriers. Eventually, you don't get stuck anymore.
Yeah.
And you just, if you do it with the right workflow, if you take care of all the big picture things in the beginning, the other stuff is kind of technical and can somewhat be passed over to somebody or...
So what do you call the big picture stuff in the beginning?
So the big picture stuff is composition,
right.
rhythm and melody, sound selection. That's a huge one. If you can't build your sound palette of sounds, of what you sound like, or what instruments that you're playing, that's a huge one. And then the next thing is a hook. What do you call it? How do you ask for it? Back in the day, we used to have to call the radio and say, hey, what's that song you played? It goes like this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to describe it. Otherwise, no one's ever going to remember your song.
Absolutely.
And then the next thing...
So for those things, do you think you should be doing there's specific online courses that are suited to that genre or whatever, you could probably find enough of the things online. But yeah, I think to be fast at this stuff, it really takes the preparation thing that I was saying, right, okay.
of having all the tools that you're going to need. And because you're really switching from the creative side of your brain, as soon as you start flipping through a million kicks, the creative side is gone.
Yeah.
It leaves. So you got to kind of take care of all the preparation things. So those are at your fingertips and you're not looking through hundreds of kicks. You're looking through 16.
Yeah.
And change kicks for any other sound. But yeah, I think that's a really big part of just the workflow of it. The last thing I would say is the big picture thing is just defining sections. This is what my breakdown feels like. This is what the drop feels like. This is what the variation feels like. Don't care about the mix of it. I don't care about the transitions. Does it flow rhythmically and melodically from one end to the next? Does it make sense? I think that's a big picture. And that's what a good sketch, if you have all those things that are 10 out of 10,
yeah,
the other stuff kind of just falls in place.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and you definitely get records that are lacking on production and the kind of the sort of analytical, nerdy stuff that can be done by lots of people around the world that just feel right. They feel great. Mm-hmm. And they might not be mixed as well as some other songs, but because they feel so good, DJs love playing them and people love dancing to them.
And if a label likes that other stuff enough, they'll mix it for you.
Yeah, I mean, we do that all the time.
Yeah. So that's not actually, it's very, very important to get past the, because I've judged remix contests and stuff. And if you have to look at it as an A&R, I tell this to my students too, is they might click on your song 2 to 3 times if you're lucky. They might only click on it once. If you don't grab them in that 1 to 2 seconds and it sounds like trash, they're going to skip it.
Yeah.
They probably have thousands of songs to go through that day. And you got to be able to grab them in that 1 second and, hit the second click maybe earlier in the song. Oh, this goes to that? Okay. How do you take me there?
Yeah.
And then they listen. So, yeah, that's a lot has to do with mixing too. And
It's very true, but as an A&R, I'll listen to something and go, oh yeah, I've heard 100, It's like, okay, big piano house song, they've used a preset that I've heard on a million dance records. Like, I don't need to listen to any more of this. Where if you click on it and it's like, oh, they've got some interesting things going on. Oh, I'm going to have a listen to this for more than 2 seconds because I've not just clicked on it and it's like 909 in an M1 piano.
Oh, you actually raised a good point there. Is people lean on Splice and Loop Cloud too much. They'll find a vocal and they'll be like, oh, put that in my song. It's very unlikely that you're just going to randomly find a bunch of things that are playing music to your song. Mm. So my advice is sample the sample. Make that sample into what work for what you got going on.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might find something that will take priority. Maybe you think, wow, this is so cool, but not for my song.
Yeah.
Categorize it. Save it for later.
Make another song from it.
Yeah, because then later on, you're not flipping through the entire catalog of Loop Cloud. You're going through your favorites.
Yeah, you're taking that one vocal and going, you know what? I'm going to make a track with this vocal now, rather than trying to shoehorn this vocal into my track I already like.
Or, if it's something that you only like a part of it, just chop it up and make it into something that's not what we all hear a million times. Because everyone puts their, a lot of new guys just throw the samples in there and they think, I've heard this sample and I give feedback all the time. I'll be like, yeah, I know it's from Splice, right? Yeah. They're like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'd probably change that,
Yeah, I mean, I don't hear as many as Sam or A&R, and sometimes I'm like, so Sam, is this an often used Splice sample? He's like, don't get me started with that. And he doesn't, it's like every demo he hears with it, he's just like...
It's nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, because he knows that there's maybe going to be 1 or 2 tracks that are like the golden versions of that sample that make it to the very top. And then every time you hear that sample on something else, it's just going to sound like, oh, they did like a not as good version as that.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, it's a shame.
John Summit. He got lucky.
Yeah, but it's been taken down now. I mean,
it was?
Yeah. It's Forces that did the vocal, and I think she was not happy with how it ended up, and it got taken off of Splice.
Wow.
The deep end sample was up there for a little bit, but not for too long. And that one. So there's not often that you get a vocalist as strong as her. I mean, I think at the time she had like multiple million monthly listeners, and she was doing a Splice pack. I was like, that's unusual.
Yeah.
You're kissing a lot of frogs on Splice.
Yeah.
So anyway, that takes us right up to a really nice point. We're coming to the end of the podcast. So at this point, I like to ask the same 2 questions of all the guests. So the first one's a bit more serious. So we take Travis right back to the very beginning of his career in dance music. You're just about to start working in your first nightclub, and you can go back and meet him. What's the one piece of advice you're giving him?
I have to go back to one I've probably said before, but I think it's separating partying from, take it serious as a business, because no one's going to take you serious. You do have to party and you do have to go out, but there's a line and you shouldn't cross it. And you should know when to call it a night sometimes, when to approach somebody when you're, of sound mind.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people, that line gets blurred and they end up hurting themselves more than they're helping. I think the sooner that you can realize that,
Yeah.
That you take it serious as a business, the better off you'll be further ahead. I think that's one that I've kind of thought about. And
yeah, I think that's really good. I think it's really good advice. There's part of it which is like, cool, I'm going to relax and have fun, but it can't. And then part of going out is like networking, so it's kind of the job part. So I'm not going to, I might have 1 or 2 drinks, but I'm going to keep it together so I can talk to people and hang out.
Yeah.
And then sure, I might have fun, and that happens every so often, but it's in a more private, friend scenario.
That.
Yeah,
separate the two.
Yeah, separate
That's
the
what
two.
I'm saying.
That's great advice. And the last question I like to ask is, so you're coming to it's the last DJ gig of your DJ career. You're hanging up your headphones and the club is packed. The security have allowed you one more record. What is that record you're playing?
It's definitely a tough question. I've thought about it. I think I have to go to an old Macioplex record called Why.
Oh.
You know it?
I don't know that one, but is it from Macioplex?
Like 2010.
Early? There was so many good records.
Yeah. So the bass line doesn't come in till I think 5 minutes or something.
The sort of attention span we had in 2010, I missed that.
But it's so good, and he's just going why, and then when it finally comes in, it goes for love.
Oh.
Yeah, I almost got chills right now just thinking about it.
Yeah, it reminds me of that Pachanga Boys Time sort of type record where it just builds and builds and builds, and then it gives you this delicious moment.
Yep.
Yeah. Shame we don't make records like that right now. I'm sure they'll come back around again. Anyway, Travis Emmons, thank you so much for joining me on the sofa. It's been a pleasure.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Cheers, man.
Thanks.